Listen up. You've been lied to. You've been fed a sugary, pathetic fantasy of what love should be, a narrative designed to turn strong men into emotional doormats. You fear conflict. You dread disagreement. You chase approval, and in doing so, you surrender your power, your respect, and your very essence. You wonder why women lose interest, why they test you, why you always end up feeling like you're being played, manipulated. The truth, she won't truly respect you, let alone love you deeply, until you stop trying to be her agreeable puppy, until you learn to challenge her, to command her attention, to strategically introduce friction. This isn't about cruelty. It's about a cold, hard psychological truth. It's about the Machiavellian game of attraction and a masculine strategy that most men are too soft, too scared, to ever master. Today, we dissect the uncomfortable reality of female desire and hand you the blueprints to regain absolute emotional control. Stop being the victim of the mental game. It's time to become the master. If you're ready to reclaim your dominance and build relationships on a foundation of genuine respect, not desperate validation, then stay locked in. This isn't for the faint of heart. This is how you win. You've been conditioned to believe that love is a sterile, pain-free zone, a constant state of harmonious bliss where disagreement is a threat and discomfort is the enemy. This is a lie designed to keep you weak, to keep you a perpetual pleaser. Let me strip away that illusion. True, profound connection, the kind that binds souls and builds empires, is not born in the absence of friction, but forged within it. When you meticulously avoid any potential for disagreement, any chance of upsetting her, you are not signaling love. You are signaling fear. Fear of her reaction, fear of losing her, fear of being disliked. And what does fear communicate? A lack of self-worth, a void of masculine power, a complete surrender of your emotional control. This isn't about deliberately inflicting pain, but about understanding that the refusal to engage with the possibility of it is a profound failure of nerve and authenticity. When you refuse to stand your ground, to challenge her perspective, to even, on occasion, disappoint her because your own truth demands it, you are denying her the opportunity to truly see you. You become a shadow, a reflection of her desires, rather than a man with his own gravitational pull. A high-value man understands this psychological warfare. He knows that respect isn't given. It's commanded through demonstrated strength, and that includes the strength to navigate emotional turbulence without capsizing. Think about it through a Machiavellian lens. A ruler who avoids all conflict, who never risks upsetting anyone, is eventually seen as weak, easily manipulated. The same applies in the intimate arena. Your willingness to weather a storm, to allow for discomfort, even for a moment of genuine emotional pain, signals an investment so deep, so authentic, that it resonates on a primal level. It tells her, my commitment to truth, to this relationship, to myself, is stronger than my fear of a temporary ripple. This isn't some sinister manipulation. It's a fundamental aspect of the mental game of attraction and a cornerstone of effective masculine strategy. Women are unconsciously testing your emotional control, your capacity to hold space for your own truth amidst potential discord. If you collapse at the first sign of emotional pressure, you confirm her deepest suspicion that you lack the backbone to be a true partner, a true leader. You hand over your power, piece by agonizing piece. The profound irony is that in your desperate attempt to avoid pain and keep her happy, you inadvertently trigger her deepest contempt. She needs to feel the weight of your presence, the solidity of your convictions. She needs to know that your investment isn't so fragile that it shatters at the first sign of an unfulfilled expectation or a challenging conversation. This engagement, this willingness to confront, to stand firm, it builds respect. It demonstrates you are not easily swayed, not easily controlled, and therefore, you are a man worthy of deep emotional investment yourself. The true high-value man doesn't just avoid pain, he strategically understands its role, transforming potential weakness into an undeniable display of power. He maintains his emotional control, not by suppressing, but by navigating. But this is just one piece of the puzzle. Understanding why women need this friction is one thing. Knowing how to wield it effectively, without becoming a tyrant, is another challenge entirely. Knowing how to wield it effectively, without becoming a tyrant, is another challenge entirely. This is where the concept of dominatia sativa transforms from a vague ideal into a precise, almost surgical art. It's not about brute force, but about the strategic application of pressure, the removal of cancerous emotional dependencies, and the careful shaping of the dynamic. Think of it less as a battle and more as high-stakes emotional chess. A true master of this mental game doesn't just react, he anticipates, positions, and influences. Machiavelli, for all his controversy, understood a fundamental truth about power. It is often more effectively exercised through perceived strength and intelligent influence than through overt aggression. This isn't about sinister manipulation. It's about understanding the psychological landscape of your relationship, recognizing the unconscious tests, and responding in a way that solidifies your position as a high-value man. Your emotional control becomes your most potent weapon, allowing you to remain unshakable even when faced with emotional turbulence designed to destabilize you. This precise emotional surgery involves several critical maneuvers. First, it's about establishing and holding firm boundaries. When she pushes, when she tests, when she attempts to encroach on your time, your space, your non-negotiables, your response must be clear, calm, and resolute. This isn't a power play against her. It's a declaration of your self-respect. It's saying, I value you, but I will not sacrifice myself for you. This kind of steadfastness, this unyielding integrity, is incredibly attractive and builds deep respect. Second, it's about the art of constructive challenging. When she brings drama, when she makes unreasonable demands, when her emotional state threatens to engulf the entire dynamic, do you capitulate to avoid discomfort, or do you stand your ground, not aggressively but with a quiet, undeniable conviction? This is where your masculine strategy truly shines. It means calling out BS, respectfully but firmly, and guiding the conversation back to logic, to mutual respect, or to the actual core issue. It requires an ironclad emotional control to not get swept up in her emotional currents. This challenging isn't an attack. It's an invitation for her to meet you at a higher level, to transcend the petty, to become better. It demonstrates that you are a man strong enough to lead, strong enough to hold space for uncomfortable truths, and strong enough to challenge both yourself and your partner towards growth. It is the antithesis of weak, desperate appeasement. It is the intelligent application of your power, not to dominate her, but to dominate the narrative and the direction of the relationship. It's about being the immovable object when necessary, preventing the relationship from veering off course due to fleeting emotions or unchecked impulses. This isn't just about surviving the mental game, it's about mastering it, and in doing so, earning a level of respect and admiration that superficial appeasement could never achieve. But the true mastery of this art lies in knowing exactly when to assert and when to yield. How do you calibrate that pressure? The calibration, my friend, is the essence of a truly refined masculine strategy. It's not about becoming an obstinate wall, impenetrable to all requests. That's immature. Instead, it's about a discerning application of your will, a strategic deployment of your power. You assert when your core values are challenged, when your personal time and space are routinely disrespected, or when her emotional currents threaten to derail your purpose. And you yield wisely when the request is reasonable, when it aligns with mutual growth, or when it truly enriches the shared experience without compromising your integrity. This isn't emotional chess, it's psychological warfare on a subtle, relational battlefield. Consider the proof of time. This is a classic example of saying no to establish high value. When she makes an impromptu demand on your time, a sudden expectation for you to drop everything because she feels like it, your response is critical. Do you scramble, proving that her whim holds more weight than your pre-existing plans or personal commitments? Or do you calmly, firmly state your inability to comply, perhaps suggesting an alternative time? No, I can't tonight. I have X but I'm free on Y. This isn't about being unaccommodating. It's about demonstrating that your life, your schedule, and your pursuits have inherent value independent of her. It teaches her that your world does not revolve solely around her orbit. This establishes a profound level of respect. It signals you are a high-value man whose time is a precious commodity, not a freely available resource for her emotional convenience. This is your emotional control in action, preventing her attempts at subtle manipulation from dictating your reality. Then there's the strategy of action in solitario. This is where you say no, not just with words, but with your very autonomy. If she attempts to dictate your hobbies, your friends, your personal development, or any aspect of your self-sovereignty, your no must be absolute. This isn't about permission, it's about ownership of your life. No, I'm going to the gym, regardless. No, I'm spending time with my friends tonight. No, this personal project is important to me. The highest form of this no is simply acting without seeking approval. It's showing, not telling, that your boundaries are non-negotiable. This is the intelligent application of your power. It's a crucial aspect of the mental game, where you refuse to be diminished, to have your world shrunk to fit her comfort zone. A man who allows his identity to be eroded by such demands loses himself, and in doing so, loses her respect. Machiavelli himself would recognize the strategic utility of this kind of no. It's not about cruelty, but about cultivating a healthy fear of overstepping boundaries, a fear rooted in respect for your autonomy, not for your aggression. It's about teaching her that your masculine strategy involves a core of self-preservation that cannot be breached. This isn't about being cold or unresponsive. It's about being grounded, about having an unshakable inner frame that communicates without aggression that you are the captain of your own ship. You are not susceptible to manipulation, and your emotional control is paramount. Every time you effectively say no to an unreasonable demand, you are not just setting a boundary, you are reinforcing your self-worth, solidifying your position as a high-value man, and subtly reshaping the dynamics of the relationship in your favor. It clarifies the terms of engagement, defining where her influence ends and your sovereignty begins. This consistent, respectful, yet firm assertion of no cultivates a specific kind of respect, not the kind born of fear, but the kind born of admiration for a man who knows himself, values himself, and refuses to compromise his integrity. It teaches her that she cannot control every situation, that her emotions are not the absolute law of the land within your shared dynamic. It forces her to recalibrate her expectations, to understand that your partnership is between two whole, independent individuals, not one trying to consume the other. This establishes an equilibrium where both parties can thrive, because the man is not constantly sacrificing his essence. But how do you ensure this no doesn't just create distance or resentment? How do you ensure it strengthens, rather than weakens, the bond? That's where the art of selective engagement comes into play. This isn't about being cold or unresponsive. It's about being grounded, about having an unshakable inner frame that communicates, without aggression, that you are the captain of your own ship. You are not susceptible to manipulation, and your emotional control is paramount. Every time you effectively say no to an unreasonable demand, you are not just setting a boundary, you are reinforcing your self-worth, solidifying your position as a high-value man, and subtly reshaping the dynamics of the relationship in your favor. It clarifies the terms of engagement, defining where her influence ends and your sovereignty begins. This consistent, respectful, yet firm assertion of no cultivates a specific kind of respect, not the kind born of fear, but the kind born of admiration for a man who knows himself, values himself, and refuses to compromise his integrity. It teaches her that she cannot control every situation, that her emotions are not the absolute law of the land within your shared dynamic. It forces her to recalibrate her expectations, to understand that your partnership is between two whole, independent individuals, not one trying to consume the other. This establishes an equilibrium where both parties can thrive, because the man is not constantly sacrificing his essence. But how do you ensure this no doesn't just create distance or resentment? How do you ensure it strengthens, rather than weakens, the bond? That's where the art of selective engagement comes into play. Selective engagement is not about being inaccessible or constantly rejecting. It's a nuanced application of your boundaries. Think of it as a master strategist deploying troops in a psychological war. You don't engage every skirmish, you choose your battles. When a demand comes that compromises your masculine strategy, your time, your values, or simply isn't aligned with your vision, your no must be clear, unburdened by guilt, and devoid of the need for validation. This is where true emotional control shines. It's the difference between a negative defensive no and a calculated, strategic no. The latter communicates, my resources are valuable, my time is valuable, I am valuable, and I am choosing not to allocate those resources here, not out of malice, but out of self-respect and a clear understanding of my priorities. This isn't manipulation in the negative sense, it's self-preservation and the intelligent management of your influence. It's demonstrating your inherent worth, rather than trying to prove it. This nuanced approach to saying no prevents resentment because it's rarely absolute and never personal in its delivery. It's about the alignment of actions with your deeper purpose. When you say no to a request that would drain your energy or pull you off course, you are, in essence, saying yes to your own mission, your own well-being, and ultimately your ability to be a stronger, more capable partner. This is that aspect of developing genuine respect. She recognizes that your no isn't a rejection of her, but an assertion of you. A high-value man doesn't apologize for his boundaries. He states them. He doesn't over-explain his decisions. He simply acts in alignment with his inner compass. This mental game is about consistency. When your no is consistently tied to your principles and not to whims or emotional reactions, it builds an almost magnetic form of respect. It demonstrates unwavering emotional control and a formidable internal frame. She might test it, as humans naturally do, but each test you pass, with calm, firm resolve, reinforces your position. This isn't about being domineering. It's about having a spine made of steel wrapped in a velvet glove. The velvet glove is your ability to communicate your no with respect, acknowledging her perspective without compromising your own. The steel spine ensures that once the no is given, it stands. This masculine strategy creates an environment where both parties understand the boundaries of the playing field. It sets expectations and teaches her that your agreements and your word hold significant weight. Machiavelli, though often misconstrued, understood the importance of maintaining an aura of power and self-possession. A leader, or a man of value, does not allow himself to be easily swayed or taken for granted. His firmness, when necessary, is understood not as cruelty but as a component of his effectiveness and strength. Your no becomes a tool in this larger mental game, not a weapon. It's a boundary marker, delineating the sacred ground of your autonomy. Consider the alternative, a yes born of fear, a yes motivated by the desperate need for approval. This path leads to resentment, bitterness, and the gradual erosion of your identity. You become a puppet, reacting to external strings, rather than a sovereign individual guiding his own destiny. That kind of man commands no respect, only pity, and eventually, contempt. The true power lies in the freedom to choose your responses, to engage when it serves your highest purpose, and to disengage when it doesn't. This selective disengagement, The strategic no is often more powerful than any affirmative action. It speaks volumes without uttering a single unnecessary word. It communicates your value implicitly. It forces her to consider your perspective, to understand that your resources are not infinite and your decisions are not arbitrary. It's a continuous reinforcement of your leadership in your own life and in the dynamic you share. But how do you wield this power without becoming perceived as unyielding or unapproachable? How do you maintain the warmth and connection while still holding your ground? That's where understanding the subtle art of calibration comes in. Now ask yourself, have you ever felt your emotional control slip or realized you were a pawn in someone else's mental game, a subtle manipulation you only noticed too late? Tell me in the comments below. To continue mastering true power, earning respect, and implementing the masculine strategy of a high-value man, subscribe and hit that bell. It's the only way to consistently receive the Machiavelli-esque insights most men never discover. For the next step in this mental game, click the video on your screen now. Stay sharp.